advice for a dying practitioner. Now, the next preparation for death from Dotep Chin's advice. Okay. There you go. It says, confess all the harmful actions you have committed, and this and all your other lives, as well as any downfalls or breakages of vows you may have incurred, whether you remember them or not, and make repeated pledges never to act in such a way in the future. Don't feel afraid about death. Try instead to raise your spirits and cultivate a clear sense of joy, bringing to mind all the positive, virtuous things you have done in the past, without feeling any trace of arrogance. Rejoice in your achievements over and over again. The text of the Vinaya explains that one of the principal causes for taking a supreme form of rebirth is one who leads a disciplined life in the presence of the Buddha, for example, is to make prayers and aspirations at the moment of death. This is why it is said that whatever is the closest and whatever is the most familiar will have tremendous power. Okay. Okay. That is the root text, if you have. Think about this. When you are facing death and the time of death comes, we have to think that now, like the time of death comes, what does that mean to you? Okay, I think that's very important to recognize, like visualizing yourself, right? I am the time of death right here. I'm going to die right now. What does that mean to you? Do you believe that death means the complete end of everything? End of everything? There is absolutely nothing left? That's one question. Another question is, do you believe there is something else beyond death? So think these two questions over and over again, right? If you really believe that death is the ending of everything, right? Your body died and cremated, whatever. There is no such thing as a mind, the consciousness that separate from your body. Then I think you don't need these preparations at all. Then it doesn't matter if you allow any negative thoughts to enter your mind when you're facing death, because it's the end of everything. It's end of your life, end of everything. So then you don't have to reduce attachment. There's no such thing as attachment that attached to your possessions, your body, your family, your friend. There's no such thing as after the death, everything's in, right? But you need to make sure to understand and find out whether there are future lives or not through your examinations. If you believe in your future lives, then you should not forget these preparations, because it will, so we're talking about death. So you have to sort of really investigate, really, what death mean to you. What is meaning someone die? What does that mean? If you don't have the capacity to find out whether they are future lives or not, many people don't have that capacity, right? Some people just don't know, but they believe future lives. Some people just don't know, but they don't believe future lives. That's very common. Some people know there is a future life. Some people know, there is no future lives. I don't know. So I think if you don't have the capacity to find out future lives or not, then I think the best way to handle this situation is you should trust and follow what the Buddhas and bodhisattvas and great masters believed about death and birth. Which is extremely precious and very, very useful. And I will also give advice for you that I have sort of received from some of my teachers as well. And I will explain some of the most important points relating to the time before death, the time of death itself, and after death. I know you don't want to think about death, you want to ignore it, but sooner or later, you're going to face death, so you should not ignore it. That's my suggestion. So these preparations are important before death. That's why we call it preparation, which is training the mind and taking care of daily life. So you should know, preparing for death depends not just on practices at the time of death, but it depends on how you live your life every day and every moment. So trying to practice every day. Try to not create a negative karma. And look at your mind, your situation, your life, how much attachment you have, how much sort of harmful actions have you done. And once you recognize that, then according to this preparation, purify them, right? So there is a lot of work to be done before you face death. But right now is the best time because The future depends on the present. So it is important. So you should write down the most important preparations. When I teach today, I will give you lots of instructions. So it doesn't mean that you have to practice all of them. So I just give you a bunch of, like instructions, methods, so then you can sort of, choose what instruction do you want to practice at the time of death. Pick one, right? Pick two, pick three, whatever. If you don't do that, you will not remember all these things. When death comes, you will not remember at all. If you don't prepare this practice now, then at the time of death, there will be no difference between someone who doesn't know anything about Dharma practice and someone who received a lot of Dharma teachings but didn't practice. There's no difference. So you don't know what to do at the time of death. Very confused. I've been there. Even Tibetans, they totally believe future life based on ignorance. When they die, I've been there and people say, I don't know what to do. I mean, this dying person always say, I don't know what to do now. Can you help me? I always say, yes, I can help you, but no, I cannot help you. Nothing. I'm helpless at that moment, that time. So people are very, very confused, when, the time comes, and all other some people are very painful, very, some people are very peaceful, some people are very sad, and some people are very regret, all that kind of things, and they don't know how to handle those situations because you didn't make any plan. You never thought about it. So the masters say that since you will not stay in this world forever, it is better to make your preparation now. Okay? So prepare now while you have the opportunity, freedom to practice. Okay? As I said, write down what you're going to practice. And then you practice. And then when time, of death comes, you will be able to do it easily. Okay, so I can share with you some different practices and methods for your preparation. As I said, which I have learned from my teachers, so you can choose the best for you. So how do you choose? There's so many different instructions, methods. How do you choose how do you know which is the best? Because this is how you choose. At the moment of death, the instructions, the practice, the methods, needed to overcome the nightmare of dying must be very simple and very clear. That's you need. Because if it's not simple, for example, a ritual that include lots of different kinds of visualizations and recitations, mantras, it's not simple. You have no time. You will not be able to do it. So you need a very simple and not confused with, very clear. That kind of method, that kind of instruction you need to choose. So think deeply about what kind of practice would help you to let go of these things, the things that you are attached to at the moment of death. Whether it is renunciation or impermanence or bodhicitta or the nature mind, whatever you think is the best. And then you should keep that practice in your mind and develop it in your daily life, right? Otherwise, through attachment to this life, you get distracted, right? You might have faith in the Dharma and your practice and understand that you need to practice, but you are so distracted, right? Even though you understand death and impermanence and you know that death is going to happen to you, but distractiveness, makes you really, what do you call it, lazy and, hard to practice and all of that. So you are not be able to practice Dharma diligently because of attachment. Okay? Then if you don't practice, then what is the point of receiving all these teachings if you're not able to practice them when you really need them? When you die, there's no one to protect you. No one to protect you. I guarantee you, based on my knowledge, no one can protect you. You can only protect yourself by practicing the Dharma. Your practice can protect you from fear of death. You're not afraid of falling into the lower realms in the next life. So I can tell you this, right? Based on all these teachings of Buddhism suggested that the most important preparation when the time of death comes is letting go of your attachment to everything completely if you can. That's the bottom line. Do you remember Karmalangba says in the Pardo teachings, when the Pardo of death appears to you, abandon all grasping and attachment. Abandon all grasping attachment. This is because everything we like, everything we enjoy, we can't have them, including our own body at that moment of death. Especially, I think the greatest attachment is to our body. So the pain at the time of death is when we are about to be separate from it. Therefore, Patamba said, you should think and take good care of everything that you are attached to. There is nothing that can help you and nothing worldly that you need at all at the time of death. Right? Our worldly concerns, such as our family, our friends, our wealth, anything else that is important during this lifetime is totally useless at the moment of death. And it will be very harmful if we are still attached to them. Therefore, in the Bardo teachings, it says that death is painful. Remember, painful, Bardo of painful, right? Painful Bardo. Why it is painful? Because all of these separations, very painful. All of this separation, because we are attached to these things. Now we're separate from all of that. That's why it's painful. So death is absolutely painful if your mind is not prepared. It's the worst thing that we have to go through and experience because we didn't use good methods for taking, death is the path. So breaking an attachment is crucial to dying with a peaceful and happy mind. So what happens if we don't let go of our attachment? As soon as we investigate what causes the worry and fear, what makes death difficult, is attachment to this life, attachment to the body, possessions, families, friends, and so on and so forth. This, clinging, right? Clinging makes death difficult, grasping, brings so much worry and fear. So attachment makes our mind not free because of not wanting to be separate from these things. Then our mind is not free. If your mind is not free, then you cannot let them go. And then we don't want to die, but we don't have power. So again, the most harmful thing at the time of death is attachment. Attachment tortures us. There is attachment that motivates, negative actions, which cause us suffering from death, after death. So we make sure that this doesn't happen. That's why preparation is important. Everything we have done over the spiritual practice in this life is about letting things go. If we cannot do that, then our practice are kind of pointless. So therefore, the teaching saying that at the time of death, a peaceful mind is very important. That means without feeling of fear or sadness or attachment or regret, then our mind will be very peaceful. So we can reduce this emotional pain and free our mind from attachment and die with a peaceful mind. How wonderful. Then your next life, if you believe, will be successful, will be very, very beneficial. If we prepare well, then death gives us a great hope. And it's another great chance to reach liberation if we are not able to achieve enlightenment in this lifetime. So if you believe the future life, then you make sure that your future life will not worse than this life. So here you see, eliminating attachment is the first preparation, right? Dotepchen said, sever completely the bonds of clinging and attachment. Can you see that? That's the first preparation. So you have to write down this. What is the first preparation? What is the second preparation? I mean, you might not like to hear this, eliminate your attachment, but you should think about it. According to Dotepchen's advice, the first preparation is practice non-attachment, think about attachment, what is attachment, to find out everything. That is the preparation, first preparation. I mean, Dotepchen is not just ordinary person. Okay, now the second preparation from Dotepchen's advice is, we said, confess all the harmful negative actions you have committed, and you should bring all the positive and virtuous things you have done in the past, and then you should dedicate all of that at the time of death. These two preparations are also important to remember at the time of death. And these two are not that difficult. It's easy, not like eliminating attachment, not like that. This just, so you have to remember. The thing is, you make sure that remember. So confessing all the harmful negative actions means, Dotepchen says, the harmful negative action means, if you are a tantrika, bring to mind and confessing all your broken samayas, meaning, broken vows and broken commitments, right? So when you think about harmful actions, there are two things. There is harmful actions that is naturally harmful and negative, such as, the 10 negative actions. Remember, killing animals, people, stealing, malicious thoughts, so on and so forth. 10 negative actions. These negative actions are very harmful, and these are naturally harmful and negative. And then there is the negative actions that is related to spiritual practice, but they are not naturally negative and harmful. But it's related to, because they are negative and harmful, because it's related to your practice, spiritual practice, such as, misdeeds of broken vows or commitment, like the 3 downfalls of refuge precepts, right? You take refuge vows, there is a precept, right? Then, the 18 rude downfalls of bodhisattva vows. And then there is the other, if you receive all these empowerments, there are lots of this kind of vows and all of that. So you see, these are not naturally negative, harmful actions. But if you, for example, if you take the refuge vows, then you don't keep the vows, then it's negative for you. If you took bodhisattva vows and you don't keep the vow, then it's not negative. But this breaking vows are not negative for ordinary people. So that's why they're not naturally harmful. So there are two different negative actions we may have committed, right? So we have to confess all the harmful actions we have committed, as well as any downfalls of vows we may have knowingly or not knowingly committed. We have to purify all of them. Because this time is so important. Usually, like every single day, we have to make a commitment and confess and, purify them. Every day is important, right? But especially the time of death. Because the teachings say, if you can, make your confession face to face, either to a teacher or to a Dharma brothers or sisters. If neither is possible, then you make your confession like mentally. You visualize, three jewels, and then you purify. Think about your negative actions, and then you really think that I will not do this again. Right? If you say that if you're not do this again, and then if you keep that vow, you purify it. That's what I mean, how to purify this thing. But if you say, I'm not going to do this again, and then you keep doing and you break in the samaya, your commitment, then you never purify your negative actions if you don't keep the vow. So whatever we have done in our lives, even if we have accumulated a lot of negative karma, if we are able to make purifications at the moment of death, it will be very, very powerful opportunity for purifying negative karma. Because the teachings say that the last thought we have before we die has an extremely powerful, determined effect on our future. Therefore, purifications are important at the moment of death. And then think also say about all the positive, right? Virtues things you have done in the past, and then dedicate all of them without sort of feeling any arrogance or jealousy, so that your in your future lives will have with all the perfect sort of circumstances. So these two preparations, okay, confessing all the harmful actions and dedicating all the positive actions are important at the moment of death, okay? Dotapchin's advice. And then it also says here, don't be afraid of death, right? Try instead to raise your spirits and cultivate a clear sense of joy. This is also important to remember. So this means, when you know that the time of death is near and approaching, you should cultivate a clear sense of satisfaction without any regret. And rest your mind peacefully, right? And be ready to change this life to another good and better life. So you have to bring this happiness. So, rather than like, oh, I should have done this, all of that, no regret, even though you have regret, don't bring that. When the time comes, don't bring any negative emotions and thoughts in your mind. So just to be happy. So now I have a chance to rebirth and another life that will be better than this life. So I'm very, very ready to change this life. Like it's like if you have a very old clothes and then you're kind of like, oh, I'm ready to change, and now I will buy beautiful clothes. It's just death is change. That's all. That's why, as Milarepa said, death leads to the path of liberation. Death brings joy to you, who is a great or good practitioner. It's a really great, death is really great if you have all these preparations. If not, then death is so painful, so difficult. So again, this is, you really need to remember, okay? According to Bardo teachings, I've just told you this so many times. But again, according to the Bardo teachings, the very last thought that appears in your mind has a very powerful influence on your after death experience. For that reason, Dotapchen says here, don't be afraid of death. Instead, cultivating a clear sense of satisfaction. I had a wonderful life. I benefited this and this. I practiced this and that, and now I just you have satisfied at the moment of death. It's so crucial. Don't bring any negative thought into your mind at the moment. Recently, I heard some people in Tibet found a little girl who remembered her past life because he died from a bad car accident in a river. So this little girl is terrified when he sees water. Even he had a hard time to drink water. Why is that? That's why the Bardo teaching says that the very last thought that appears in your mind has a very powerful influence on your after-death experience. That's why this woman died from a bad car accident in the river. That's why the last moment of the thought she had in her mind was this river, the water killed her. That's why so strong. That's why she remembered. So you cannot see what will happen after death. And the future lives are beyond your current sort of capacity, but you can investigate. If you really want, you can investigate these people who remember their past life. For sure, some are not true, some are really true. So you can investigate. You can also investigate the unique Buddhist teachings, such as the, tantric teachings about different between body and mind, what will happen when you, all these tantric teachings really tells you that in detail all these elements inside, outside, when you're, going through process, when it tells you exactly what will happen one after another. So you can investigate those. And also Bardo teachings, pretty good too. Like they tell you what will happen. So you can investigate all of that. So the more you will be able to transform your mind by practicing these teachings, then you can see, you investigate and think, contemplate on these teachings, and then you can see whether the Buddha and his teaching is a reliable person or not. Either, through your own sort of analysis of his teachings, or just looking at the great practitioners of the past. I think that's the best way to understand what will happen after death. Otherwise, after death, it's beyond right now, like our current capacity. We have no capacity to understand or to see what will happen after death, but we have all these teachings and examples and all of that. So you can, if you want, if you hesitation, whether there's future life or not, and then you just, if there is no future life, so great, right? I'm an end of everything. It's maybe not great, but it's okay. But if there is a future life and we are not prepared, then terrible. Okay, that's that. That's easy. I'm not going to talk how to confess and the negative harmful actions and dedicate all the first. You understand. Just important you do that. Remember that. That's the thing. The next teaching says, dedicate all your merits and make repeated prayers of aspiration, so that in all your future lives, you may be able to take to heart the complete path of the supreme vehicle with the guidance of a virtuous spiritual friend and with qualities such as faith, diligence, wisdom, and wakefulness. In other words, all the most perfect circumstances, both outer and inner. Pray too that you never fall under the influence of evil companions or destructive emotions. Okay. So the third preparation of Dortopchen advice here, to make repeated prayers of aspirations, right? It says the path of supreme vehicle, which means the Mahayana path, okay? Supreme Mahayana path. Among the different types of Dharma practice, what we need to practice the Mahayana, because it's the path of bodhisattvas, right, attain enlightenment, to help all the sentient beings from all suffering. So, according to Buddhism, right, have a meaningful life means practice Mahayana and then help other sentient beings who are suffering. That is what we call meaningful life, but maybe not to you, I don't know. We don't, Buddhist teachings don't say like, hey, you have a meaningful life, you have a wonderful family, job, and children and friends, and we don't say that. That's good. Worldly, yes, perfect. If that's what you want. But real meaningful life you have a capacity to help others. Basically, that's how simple as that. So it is possible to diminish this selfishness through the training of Mahayana practice, right? It is possible to love all beings equally if we practice Mahayana Buddhism. Through the Mahayana practice, we will be able to achieve our goal. The goal is not only benefiting ourselves, but also we will be able to greatly benefit others at the same time. The great master Longchenpa says that if you wish to not harm others, then cultivate bodhicitta, right? So sometimes people say, how can I help others? I want to help others, right? I think that's great motivation. But I think first we need to make a strong commitment to not harm others, which means changing our harmful actions through practice in the Mahayana. Because when we investigate ourselves, I try to investigate myself every day. When we investigate like that ourselves, we can see that we do harm others. Every day, we do harm others through our actions, every day in our lives. So that's the point. That's the first thing we need to do, rather than like, how can I help others? I think first we have to make sure that not harm others. Basically, not harm others is help others, right? So in order to change the harmful actions, we have to practice the teachings of the Mahayana. That's why the supreme vehicle here, the Dutapchen, the Mahayana. For this reason, the Buddha said that the Mahayana is a great path. It's comfortable, suitable for everyone, no matter what. Vajrayana, for example, Vajrayana is not suitable, comfortable for not everyone. Someone who is ready, then Vajrayana is so good, great, and but not for everybody. But Mahayana, I think for everyone. So I think this path is what we need to choose. And also, in order to practice Mahayana Buddhism, you need to find a qualified spiritual teacher so that you can have confident sort of faith. With confident faith, you can cultivate pure perception. And with a confident faith, you never give up until you achieve your goal. And as you practice with great faith, you will experience the truth of the teachings, right? And that will inspire you to the future sort of discoveries, your human qualities. So in your next life, find a qualified teacher with genuine faith, and you will practice diligently, Dharma, diligently, so that you can achieve your goal. So these are necessary conditions for your Dharma practice. So this method, the preparation, you have to find your path. You have to find qualified teacher who gives you the right instructions. That's what actually Dortopchin advise here. For example, if you want to practice like non-attachment and reduce sort of, selfishness, all of that. But in order to do that, you need to find the right path and right teacher. So then, at all times and all situation, let whatever you do be in accordance with the Dharma and dedicate all your merits towards enlightenment. So it says here, right? Dedicate all your merits and make repeated prayers of aspiration so that you'll never fall under the influence of evil companions or destructive emotions. That is very important. That's why you need to find the right path and find the right companions so that you can reduce your destructive emotions. So when I think about my past life, I don't know, whoever I was, I believe that whoever was, that beings, I don't know, maybe an animal, maybe a human being, I have no idea. Whatever that beings, aspirations and dedications were accomplished and successful. Because when I was very young, I founded my great teachers without any effort and difficulties. Like naturally, there was a great sort of karmic connection between me and my teachers. I never broke my vows. And I had a great opportunities to receive the teachings, all the teachings that necessary, that's really I need, without any effort. So if you do that kind of things right now, this life, you find the right path and then you dedicate, find a spiritual, like a qualified spiritual teacher that gives you the Mahayana teachings, and then you dedicate all your positive, your accumulation merits, for, you dedicate all of that. And then the next life, you don't have to worry like to find the right teacher, to find the right path. It's naturally, you will be able to find like that. So that's I think that's what, this preparation, you have to sort of, it says like prayers of aspiration so that you can never fall under the influence of evil companions. Evil companions, so dangerous, right? So the point is, if you want to practice Dharma continuously until you reach enlightenment, you need to pray and dedicate your virtues over and over again, because the prey gives you keep going, gives you your mind, stable mind, right? The dedication helps you, your merits, not based on selfishness. Okay, so that is the Mahayana path. So that you will never fall under the influence of destructive emotions. You will find a qualified teacher. You will have the freedom to practice Dharma. So if you think you have created many problems and harmed sentient beings by a selfish mind, then this is a good time to think about it and purify them, right? So that's good. Now, let me see how much time we left. 11:45. Okay, we have a few minutes. Meditate. Again, today, so far, the most difficult preparation is the reduce attachment, I think, based on my own experience, from my own experience. It's so difficult to reduce attachment. Not the other preparation so far, easy, as long as you remember it. So if you are, okay, now meditate. How to reflect. If you are a follower or if you are Buddhist practitioner, what should you do when somebody asks you, say, like, I am so addicted my attachment. And I know it is the source of suffering. It brings me worry, anxiety, fear, all of that. I can see that, but it's not easy to control. If somebody asks like that, how do somebody ask you like that? How do I control this strong, powerful attachment? How do you answer them? Attachment is like gambling. The first time, for example, you gamble, you think this is so fun, and you win, a lot of money, and then you just keep doing it. If continue, you gamble, you have fun, and you make money, like that, right? Then you addicted, right? You just keep doing it, and then eventually you will lose everything. So that means, you feel good at the beginning, but eventually it makes you suffer. So if you don't understand the defects of gambling, then you are caught by the desire to gamble, then you will lose everything. So when you think about attachment, do you think it's really necessary in your life? Do you think attachment makes your life meaningful? I think to find out that is important, because if your attachment makes you happy and your life meaningful, then you don't have to control it at all. Then maybe you need to develop it more and more. However, if you think it doesn't make your life meaningful, doesn't make your life happy, then you need to do something about it. Nothing has to do with attain enlightenment and help others, not like that, but it's just about your life. Think about that, right? Then you have to think, do I need to reduce my attachment? Do I need to control it? If like how to reduce attachment? When you are sort of facing very difficult situation because of attachment, what does that mean to you? Oh, that happened last time. Now it will happen again. Why you let that come, let that do? Attachment controls all the time. Oh, last time I was miserable, suffering because of my attachment to this and that. Now that happened. Now I'm like fixing my mind and, like coming back, and my mind, my life is happy. But now this happened. Because you are not taking responsibility about your emotion. So if you start to investigate the negative emotions that come up in your day-to-day life, and what is causing all of these negative emotions, you have to invest. Is it attachment? If this emotion comes from attachment and caring only about yourself, because this attachment, you have this attachment based on selfishness. Or I'm happy because of this and that. Or I need this from this and this, So it depends on me. I want this. I want this, I want to buy this because it makes me happy. I want see my family. It makes me happy. I want have friends. It makes me. It's based on your selfish mind, not because of them. So how that makes you feel, attachment makes your life meaningful, if that's the case. Because the more you investigate, you will see, oh, my attachment is necessary. I want to enjoy, have fun, this and this because of my attachment, necessary. But then, you have all the other emotions because of that. Then how that makes you feel your attachment makes your life meaningful. So I think first you need to know whether attachment is necessary or not through your investigation. Really, you have to understand the meaning of attachment, the definition of attachment. This attachment related to the selfishness or not? I mean, all the attachment desire not necessarily eliminate right away. Some are very painful. Then you have to do something. Yeah, let's just let go everything. Yeah, some of you may have a little bit I don't know how to say it, or emotions, emotionally sensitive or whatever. It's just when you meditate, just relax your body and then your mind, closing your eyes. Then you investigate, right? Investigate about your life. How do I have a happy life, meaningful life? How do I make my life better? Do I really need to reduce my attachment or not? If I really do, then how? What kind of strategy or instructions the best and most effective? So think, sometimes it's really good to practice bodhicitta because then it brings lots of compassion. Sometimes if you know how to meditate on nature mind, it can reduce attachment. Sometimes think about in your situation that makes you very difficult, then what is the solution? So think all of that, okay? So then what I'm trying to say is how to reduce attachment. I think most of you probably agree that attachment is really the source of all other emotions, suffering. But it's really difficult to control because of habit. So how do we work on that? So just find out something, okay? You find out something, not what I say, or he give me this instruction, or I hope he will give me something that completely I can control my attachment. Not that. Attachment is yours, and so therefore you are responsible. So you have to you have a different mind. The way you think is different. So you are responsible. You have to find out, go deeply and think about it and everything like that. So we're going to practice. This is what we call analytical meditation, okay? Contemplate on your life and for 5 minutes.